Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining and welcome to today's presentation. As you know, HAB is pleased to host these webinars to equip the entire industry for success. For those who don't know me, my name is Alejandro Gavito. I'm the Senior Business Insights and Data Services Manager at HAB. And today I'm joined by Steven Muro. He is President at Fusion, and he's going to share the latest research his team has conducted for HAB, including actionable opportunities to help grow avocado sales based on seasonal trends. So please remember there is a question section on your dashboard where you can type a question for Steven. We'll be monitoring those and we'll answer as many as we can during our Q&A at the end. So Steven, I'll turn it over to you now.
Today, I'm going to share with you some surprising findings from a recent avocado study we conducted. And it's going to allow you to pinpoint at retail specific actions that you can take to grow the category and to hopefully grow your sales of avocados. But first, I want to take a moment to thank Alex for that gracious introduction. And I also want to thank the Hass Avocado Board for inviting me here today. Now, remember, this webinar covers just a very small portion of the complete study that's available to you on the hassavocadoboard.com website. And as soon as the webinar is over, I encourage you to go there and download the full study. Best of all, it's free. And when you do download it, you may notice that some of the metrics are slightly different than our prior studies. And that's because we're using new analytical techniques, new methods, and new data sets to build these studies to make them more actionable for you. Finally, throughout any time in this presentation, feel free to jot your questions down for us, and we will, at the end, answer as many questions as we can. So let's dig into the deck now, shall we? So get your pens out, because here are the three main opportunities we're going to discuss in this study. Q1. As you have in the past, continue to focus on sales and promotions in Q1, because this is when the greatest number of shoppers are engaged in the category. More households are purchasing avocados in Q1 than any other time during the year, and more volume is moved through retail than any other time of the year. Q2. Q2 is very important because this is when the important ultra shoppers are most engaged. Now, these are the shoppers that spend the most on avocados during the year. They purchase avocados more frequently, and they're just more engaged with the category because they love them. And their purchases help make Q2 the time when more dollars are generated at retail and the average price of avocados are at their highest. Finally, Q4. Now, this is the big opportunity. More shoppers are in the grocery store during Q4 than any other time during the year, yet their purchase of avocados is at a yearly low. So this is a big sales opportunity. Let's find out more, shall we? Now, we're going to start here with just a brief recap of supply, just to sort of orient ourselves. But here we see a snapshot of supply from 2018 to 21, with over 2.8 billion pounds of avocados in the market in 21. Now, that's an increase of almost 12%, or an additional 295 million pounds since 2018. Now, this is amazing growth. Now, with supply as a context, let's look at retail sales during that same time frame. Now, here on the right side, I have that supply snapshot again for you so you can sort of see the differences here. But look at the retail snapshots. Those are the charts in the center and on the left of the slide. While supply was up nearly 12%, retail volume was up over 17%. Now, that's an increase of 154 million pounds. And retail dollar sales were up by 13%, or a remarkable $285 million. Now let's take a look at how retail sales and volume performed every quarter of the year. Dollar sales are on the left. Now, they hit their peak in Q2 in each of the 4 years on this chart. And then they slowly decline through the remainder of the year and hitting a low point in Q4. A volume on the right generally peaked in Q1, except for 2018, and then again declined and hit a low in Q4. So Q4, that's an opportunity. How many households are buying avocados each quarter? Well, let's take a look, shall we? This is household penetration. Now, household penetration is simply a way of saying the number of total households in the US that purchase avocados during the year. So on the left here, we see that on average, 58% of households buy avocados each year. Now let's look at the chart on the right, and we can see that more households purchase in Q1 than in any other quarter. And by Q4, we have fewer households purchasing avocados. Now remember, in Q1, we have lots of sporting events highlighted by the big game. And this is when shoppers who might not regularly purchase avocados for themselves are buying them for parties that they're hosting. They know their guests like avocados. So these households may not continue to purchase throughout the year or may purchase fewer times. And by the time we get to Q4, there are fewer purchases, fewer households buying, and this then becomes a terrific opportunity to grow our sales. So let's break this down a little further. This slide is about the number of shopping trips an average avocado purchasing household takes to buy avocados. Now you can see that they take more trips to the store to buy avocados in Q1 and then gradually take fewer trips in the remaining 3 quarters. Have we done all we can to build sales in Q4? Let's take a look at how much the average avocado purchasing household spends during the course of the year, shall we? Here we see that the average quarterly purchase of avocados is highest in Q2 at almost $19.50. Now, remember, these are all averages. So we have lots and lots of people that spend way more than that amount throughout the year. And conversely, we have some people that spend less than that amount throughout the year. So now look at Q4. You may well say, well, gosh, the difference between Q1 and Q2, the spend isn't all that different. But remember, this has to be multiplied by millions and millions and millions of households. So this is still a fantastic opportunity. And look here at Q4, the growth in Q4 is growing. So this is something that we need to build on. Now let's move away from the individual households. And you can see here on the chart, look at the number of trips to the store that all avocado households take each quarter to buy avocados. Here again, we see that Q1 wins with over 227 million trips, shopping trips to buy avocados. But by the time we get to Q4, there are almost 50 million fewer trips to buy avocados. Now, I want you to remember this chart. This chart, total avocado purchase trips by quarter. Because in a second, we're going to look at another slide. And that's the total number of trips avocado shoppers take in Q4 to buy anything and everything. Look at this. The total number of trips to the grocery store made by avocado purchasers is in direct opposition to their avocado purchases. Here we see that in Q4 that we have the greatest number of shopping trips, almost 19.6 billion trips to the store. And that number is growing, up almost 29% since 2018. Now let's just go back for a second. This is the avocado purchasing trips. This is the trips to the store to buy anything and everything. There are 178 million avocado purchasing trips in Q4, but that's against 9.6 billion trips to the store. So this means that out of all the trips to the store in Q4, only about 2% of those are to buy avocados. Again, clearly a significant opportunity to increase the sales of avocados. But how much is that worth, you may ask? Well, here's the answer. If we can encourage and prompt shoppers in Q4 to shop like they do in Q1, that would drop an additional $316 million additional dollars into the cash registers of our retail partners. So think about how we might do this through promotions around the holidays, new usage ideas for Thanksgiving, new recipe ideas for the holidays, or how about starting off New Year's right with avocados as the centerpiece for your New Year's Eve party? There are so many ways to influence and encourage avocado purchases. But before we do, we should probably target who we're going to focus on to buy those avocados. So in the last several years, we've seen an evolution and a really strong engagement of avocado shoppers. You may have recalled that we did a segmentation study just a couple of years ago. And since that time, the shopper has evolved and changed and grown. So we've had to change the segmentation to keep up with them. So let's take a look at this shift and see how the shoppers are growing in awareness and sales. So look at the chart here. In the past, you may recall seeing this before, household segmentation. In the past, we had 4 segments, each being 25% of household purchases of avocados. So we had the light, we had the medium, the heavy, and the super, and each accounted again for 25%. But with our new segmentation, the light and medium groups were combined into the new moderate group. Heavy remained unchanged, and the super group was divided into 3 segments, the super, mega, and ultra. Now look at the moderates. They represent 50% of avocado purchasing households, but they purchase only 11% of avocados. Why? Well, they may again be buying for that big football game party they're hosting. They may not have learned to enjoy avocados or know how to use them. And as a side note, they just don't buy them. And I do want to point out that there is a sort of a common notion. If we could just get those moderates to buy more, that would be great. But this is very difficult to do. And it's expensive to do because we don't know why they don't purchase. Maybe they just don't like them. Again, maybe they don't know how to use them. So we're going to focus on the other side of the chart where people have already said, we like avocados. Tell us why we should buy more. So the heavy group, with 25% of household purchases, buys about 20% of avocados. Now things get good. Super, with 8% of households, buys 12% of all avocados. Megas buy almost 18%. And finally, the prize-winning ultra, 8% of the households, buy 39% of all avocados. So how important are these last 2 groups? Well, the mega and ultra segments together represent just 16% of the households, but buy 56% of all avocados at retail. So the remaining 84% of the households buy just 44%. Clearly, these top 2 tiers are where we need to focus on. They are highly engaged in the category. They have said, we love avocados. Show us why we should eat more. And when we do tell them that, they will follow. So now let's look at this breakout sort of by quarter, shall we? Here are segments and their engagement. Now, think of engagement as just involvement in the category. That is, actions taken. They go to the store as an action. They buy avocados, that's an action. They've put them on their list, so that's an action. So what I want you to do here is focus here on this table versus the lines up above. Here we have the groups we just discussed. So as previously mentioned, Q1 is when more volume is moved at retail, and the greatest number of households are purchasing avocados at this time. Q2 is when the greatest number of avocado sales occur at retail, and it's made possible by the strong engagement of these segments here. And especially look at the ultra, mega, and super. This is the number of users, households that purchase during this time frame. The ultra buy group buys every single quarter. Look at how engaged they are. 100% of them buy every single quarter. Now look at the other groups. They slowly sort of get down here. By the time they get to Q4, they're all buying less, except for the ultras, right? So these groups here are the ones that are our targets. Now, you've seen these groups that buy avocados. Let's take a look at how they buy each and every quarter. So Q2 is when dollar sales, and that's what we're looking here, spend. Dollar sales of avocados are flying. Each group spends differently, with ultras spending the most and moderates the least. Look at Q2. Q2. Look at the variance between the moderates and the ultras. The ultras spend about $43 in the quarter, more than moderates. That's right. They spend more than the moderates. Look at the difference here. It's pretty amazing. And remember, again, these are just averages. We have many ultra households purchasing way more, and we have some moderate households that purchase even less. So finally, let's take a look at the number of shopping trips by quarter, shall we? So same story here. There are more avocado purchases in Q1 for ultras. It's Q2 when they shop the most. Now look at Q4. Sales, volume, spend per trip, number of avocado purchasing trips is all at the yearly low for all segments. Q4 is waiting for us to come in and snap up that portion of sales. So let's wrap this up by all agreeing that Q4 is our opportunity to increase our sales, to grow the category. And let's quickly review what we just heard. Q1, continue to focus on the sales and promotions, because Q1 is when the greatest number of shoppers are engaged in the category and more shoppers are purchasing avocados in Q1 than any time of year. However, it's Q2 when the all-important ultra shoppers are most engaged. These shoppers are active, they spend the most, they buy the most frequently, and their purchases help make Q2 the great quarter it is. Great quarter it is, with more dollars being generated at retail and avocado prices on average at their highest. So to continue to build their interest, loyalty, and desire to stay involved in the category. And finally, Q4, the great opportunity. More shoppers in the store than any other time of year. 9.6 billion trips to the store in Q4 alone, yet their purchases are an all-time low. Let's work to place avocados on everyone's shopping list in Q4 and aim for that additional 316 million more dollars in the cash register. I know we can do it. I've seen it. Now I want to thank you, and we're going to come back in just a moment for the Q&A. But remember, you can find the complete study, which has way more information, at the HassAvocadoBoard.com website. Registering is easy, it's so simple, and it's free. So you have nothing to lose and everything to gain, all right? And I also will encourage you that once this webinar is posted online, right here, come back, see it again, rewind, pause, take a look, re-listen. It'll be very helpful. Or tell your associates about it. Let them see it. So we're going to be back in just a second with the Q&A, and I really want to thank you for attending today.
That was great, Stephen. Thank you.
Thank you.
We've been seeing a number of questions come through, and we're going to answer as many as we can. If we are unable to answer live, the team will follow up via email. So question number one, Stephen, how do you know how many times people went to the store and how much they spent on avocados?
Oh, that's a great question. Companies like IRI and Nielsen, they have these households that are all across the country, thousands of households, and they are demographically balanced to the population of the United States. And these households are given scanners. And so every time they go to the store, they come home, they scan what store they went to, they scan every single thing they bought, and then all that data is uploaded back to Nielsen or IRI, and then the data scientists take over and they do their magic, and for that we end up with this incredibly accurate and sophisticated information.
All right, so next question. Can you please explain why marketing to shoppers that purchase the fewest avocados is difficult? If they're 50% of shoppers, aren't they the greatest opportunity to grow our sales?
You know, that is so common. I have a friend who was creating an app for an iPhone, and he came to me and he says, you know, if I can just get 1/10 of 1% of the population to buy it, I'll be a billionaire. And that sounds so easy, but it's so hard, right? And that's the same issue when we're focusing on people. If we don't know they like avocados, we don't know why they don't like avocados. Why aren't they buying? Is it the texture? Is it the taste? Did they have a bad experience? What exactly is it? And so we would struggle to spend a lot of money to overcome that, and it's very difficult to overcome that with marketing. But even if we did, would they go from spending $5 a year or a quarter to $6? You know, that's not very much. But if we focus on the super, mega, and ultra category, and we give them a reason to buy more, they're not just probably going to buy one more, they're probably going to buy 2 more or 3 more. So all of a sudden, we've got another $8 spend every quarter versus another $1 spend. So it's really that super group of the megas and the ultras and the supers that we should focus on, because they're the ones that say, I love avocados, show me why I should buy more.
The next question, on the household penetration slide, it shows yearly penetration at 58%, yet quarterly penetration is lower. Can you explain?
Yeah, it does. It says, if you remember, it says like 50% every year, but then if you look at quarters, it goes from 44 to about 37%, and that is kind of confusing. But if you could look at the weekly penetration rates, you would understand it a little bit better. And let me sort of explain. I'll use Super Bowl as an example. So Super Bowl is in the first quarter, and if we looked at week by week, we would see that all of a sudden, a week or two before Super Bowl, that penetration would just zoom. It goes up. And then after Super Bowl, it goes back down again. Because why? Because the moderates got in there and they started purchasing along with the people that buy them all the time, and they bought them for their Super Bowl party. But then the next week they go back out again. And on top of that, not all of those segments buy all the time. So people go in and out of the category, especially in the moderate groups. They go in and out and in and out. So it does look a little strange, but if you looked at it the way we see all the data, those are really solid averages.
Thank you, Stephen. So we have a couple of questions, actually 3 questions related to Q4 and Q3. So I'll just try to sum it up a little bit. So sure. If Q4 is a huge opportunity, what can we do to take advantage of it? And also, Q4 has seen historical low pricing in good supplies, lots of free sale promotions. How will that affect to lower Q4 numbers as we have seen in the last couple of years? So just explain a little bit more on Q4.
Yeah, well, Q4, I think there's such a great opportunity there. You know, just let me back up historically. There was a time when Super Bowl wasn't what it is today. There was a time when people weren't buying avocados for Super Bowl, but the industry got together and really focused on building that. And today we have this incredible opportunity, right, with Super Bowl. Everybody's selling. So you get to Q4. We have Thanksgiving. We have Christmas. We have Hanukkah. We have New Year's. We have all this activity going on, and yet sales aren't there. And a price discount isn't going to make that happen. It's everything that we need to do. It's creating excitement. It's creating new usage ideas, new recipe ideas, advertising, using social media, all the things that we would normally do around Q1, around Super Bowl. Those are the things I believe that we need to do in Q4 to build excitement. And we also need to go out to our retail partners and say, hey, this is a great opportunity for us. Why don't we work together to build sales during this time frame? So, and when we create that demand, that's when prices can elevate a little bit with the demand. So I hope that answers some of the questions.
Yes, I think it did. I don't know if we have time for any more questions. We're very short on time now. So I just want to thank you, Stephen, for the time and for explaining and answering all these questions. We appreciate you taking the time and your busy schedules. Please stay tuned for additional webinars and check out hasavocadoboard.com for the latest. Thank you all for attending. Happy holidays. Happy holidays, Stephen. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.